All new this afternoon, we've been telling you week after week about employers offering incredible incentives to get people back to work as a huge gap in the labor force is causing a ripple effect all throughout the economy. But the reason for that shortage can't be easily pinned down on just one factor. Joining us now, U.S. Secretary of Labor Marty Walsh. Mr. Secretary, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. You know, labor has become a huge topic all over the country. More and more businesses are really complaining about a lack of workers out there. So is this because of enhanced unemployment benefits?
No, I don't believe so. I think it's because of the fact that we're beginning to come out of COVID. We've gone through a year and a half of very difficult time here for workers and for businesses all across this country. Some of our businesses aren't coming back at all. And I think that as we move forward here, we're going to start to see more and more people get back into the workforce. We've seen over the last 3 months an average of 500,000 people getting back into the workforce. In the month of April, we saw more people looking for work in the month of April than the month of March. And I think, the CDC making rulings on some of the mask mandates, and lots of businesses are beginning to open up now. I think as long as we can keep the coronavirus hopefully under control and then eventually gone, we're going to see more and more people returning back to the workforce. We're still dealing with childcare issues. We're still dealing with family issues and still people concerned about their own health. But I don't believe there's a different reasons for all of this.
Well, leadership in South Carolina has already opted out or suggested ending the PUA benefits, the federal subsidies. And in North Carolina, Senators Tillis and Burr, they've asked Governor Roy Cooper to end that as well. Is that something you'd support?
No, I don't support that. I think that people are still hurting right now and still worried. I don't think $300 is going to keep somebody out of work. But I think that, as we move forward here over the course of the next couple of weeks, this is the first time I haven't heard lots of people talking about the $300 over the last 2 weeks. And I think that we're going to start seeing more and more people go back to the workforce as we move forward here in the coming weeks and months.
I talked to a local business here just within the last week or so that said they could hire 90 people on the spot today, but he can't find anybody. How do you respond to businesses like that? That's got to be something you're hearing about.
Well, I can't really respond if I don't know exactly what the business is. I know that there's different reasons.
Home building is the industry.
Again, I think that part of it might be the fact I don't know what the wages are for the employees. I think some employees looking for higher wages as well.
15 plus.
Did they tell you that?
Yeah, he did.
That's good. I hope he finds the workers, and I think that again, as we move forward here, we're still not in the midst of a pandemic, but we're still dealing with a pandemic. I think that's one of the biggest concerns people have. I would love to see people back to work. I think that if people have a choice to make, if they either stay on unemployment and get an additional $300 for the month of September, or they have a chance to get a job with benefits, they're going to take the job with benefits. And I think as we move forward here in the coming weeks, again, we're going to see differences here. When I see differences.
Going forward post Memorial Day, where do you see this going this summer? Do you see us really making a big bounce back in terms of the workforce?
I hope so. I was prior to my previous role as mayor of the city of Boston, and lots of people either worked from home or their industries, quite honestly, were shut down, or they didn't have an industry to go to. I would love to see the economy continue to get stronger here. President Biden is focused on that with his American Rescue Plan and the American Jobs Plan moving forward. And I would certainly, as Secretary of Labor and new Secretary of Labor, I would love to be giving the numbers that we've had the highest gains in employment in the history of the country, and get people back to work. So that's our goal, and that would be my goal as we move forward here.
U.S. Secretary of Labor Marty Walsh, thanks for being with us today. We appreciate the time and the candor.
Thank you. Thank you for